There are 12 whole classes in Baldurs Gate 3, each with several subclasses, so it's no wonder that this could be overwhelming if you're new to Dungeons & Dragons as a whole. But don't worry, I've got you covered in what are my 3 best beginner classes in Baldurs Gate 3. First up is Barbarian. I recommend this class because they are simple to play, but very effective. Barbarians are melee powerhouses that wield powerful two-handed weapons for strong melee damage. On top of that, they're one of the most durable classes in the game, having the largest effective health pool of any of the classes. If that wasn't enough, they also have access to their main feature, Rage, which pushes them even further over the top. At a base, Raging gives you a ton of bonuses such as extra damage to melee attacks, advantage on strength checks and saving throws, as well as halving all incoming physical damage, that's bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. These are the damage types shared by every single mundane weapon in the game. Due to halving the most common damage type while maintaining the highest health pool, you can see how Barbarians make unmatched HP tanks, shrugging off damage as if it were nothing. On top of the extra damage, as well as other class features like Reckless Attack, which gives better accuracy on hits in exchange for becoming easier to hit, Barbarians are just incredibly good at smashing their way through the game, which is a really fun playstyle. On top of all this combat prowess, Barbarians have a very strong class identity within the narrative of Baldurs Gate 3, having several options throughout the game that are locked only to them. Without giving specific spoilery examples, just know that if you want to rip and tear until it is done, through all the different situations even outside of combat, then Barbarian is the class for you. The 3 subclasses available to Barbarian are Berserker, which leans into the offensive capabilities of Barbarian, giving you extra attacks when raging. This path is great as a frontline DPS. You have Wildheart, which lets you pick between different spirit animals that enhance you and give you useful utility options while ranging. The most notable being the Bear path, which lets you halve all incoming damage except for Psychic. This path makes a great tank. And finally, you have Wild Magic, which, as the name suggests, gives you untamed magical capability, causing different magical effects to occur whenever you rage. This path is a bit of a joke and it's a little bit unorthodox, but it is no less fun and a completely viable option. The second class I would recommend is my personal favorite, the Rogue. Rogue is a great all-rounder option, being buildable as either ranged or melee. They prefer striking from the shadows or are enemies distracted by other members of your party. This gives you access to their powerful sneak attack damage, which adds several extra dice of damage to your attacks. Because of this, if set up correctly, rogues can be very potent single target damage dealers. They also get access to several damage mitigating abilities that allow them to shrug off AoE attacks, as well as single powerful hits. Despite this, they are still very squishy, so be careful not to get caught in a bad position. Equally as potent as their skill in combat, however, is their utility outside of combat. Rogues are what are known as skill monkeys, able to become experts in a number of skills, which gives them massive bonuses to checks made with those skills. This means that they are usually the best at performing out of combat tasks, depending on what you choose as your expertise. So if you want to specialize and have a low chance of failing certain skill checks, Rogue is the perfect choice. The 3 subclasses available to the Rogue are the Arcane Trickster. This adds spellcasting to the list of things that rogues can already do, giving you even more utility options and creative ways to do different things. The Thief, which doubles down on the mobility and versatility of the Rogue, giving you better mobility options as well as extra bonus actions. And finally, the Assassin, which specializes in stealth and one-shotting key enemies before they even get a turn. Now, finally, if you want to play a spellcaster, my personal recommendation would be the Warlock. It's the easiest out of the spellcasters to get to grips with, making it a good beginner option. This is because Warlocks choose a small pool of spells instead of getting access to a massive spellbook like the rest of the spellcasters. In return for this, however, each spell you cast is always at its full power, and you get to access the best damage cantrip in the game, known as Eldritch Blast. Eldritch Blast is amazing, it does comparable damage to weapons, and most importantly, it does force damage. This is a damage type that is only ineffective against one monster type in D&D, the Helmed Horror, which might not even be in this game. This makes you effective in pretty much any combat, as you don't have to worry about immunities and weaknesses. Warlocks also get access to several powerful passives known as Eldritch Invocations. These allow you to upgrade your Eldritch Blast with new powerful effects, as well as give useful utility bonuses such as seeing through all darkness, including magical darkness, or being able to understand any language. Much like the Barbarian, Warlock has a very strong class identity, with your magical patron, the being that gives your Warlock their powers, being a big part of the narrative should you choose to play one. The three subclasses for Warlock are Pact of the Fiend, which sees you pacted to a devil of the Night Hells. This is a great all-rounder option, it's great for offense, good for defense, and is considered by many to be the default Warlock. Pact of the Great Old One is interesting, as it means you are pacted to a creature from the Far Realms. This is important as this is the same place that Mind Flayers originate from, and of course Baldurs Gate 3 revolves heavily around those. As a class though, Great Old One focuses around psionic abilities, dealing and resisting psychic damage, reading minds, that kind of stuff. And finally, we have Pact of the Archfey. This Warlock has made a pact with a powerful creature from the Feywild, a parallel of reality that is home to fairies and other mythical beasts. This class focuses around trickery and illusions, putting people under charm so that they like you or fear you, as well as being slippery in combat with things such as teleports and invisibility. But that is going to be my 3 recommendations for the classes that you pick if you're a complete beginner and you don't really know what to go for. But of course, the choice is ultimately yours. At the end of the day, play what sounds good to you, and if you don't like it, you can respec your class very early on in the game, so don't even sweat it. Hopefully you found this useful. If you did, consider leaving a like, and definitely let me know in the comments what you ultimately decide to pick. Until next time.